It's Saturday, March 7th, 2026. Tons of Iran news, footage, and announcements coming out of the Iran conflict today, and I'm getting straight into it, so please like the video and subscribe to the channel. I do the Swamp Monday through Friday, covering all the daily happenings inside our federal machine, so check out the full episodes and highlight clips right here on the channel. Let's get straight into it. From War Monitor about 8 hours ago, reportedly from Tehran. Holy shit. So this is only about a 4-second recording, so I'll play it a couple of times. Look at this cloud, man. Absolutely enormous. All right, I think this might have been possibly an oil field or maybe the airport again. This is Eastern Tehran today. Matter of fact, I'll take back what I said a minute ago with regard to the oil fields. I think the smoke would be jet black if it were an oil field, which, speaking of the devil, breaking the 23 Marina Tower in Dubai. Okay, so never mind. We're going to get to the oil fields. There's oil fields that are on fire in Tehran. It looks absolutely nuts. The 23 Marina Tower in Dubai has been struck by an Iranian drone. This is an entirely residential building. They are targeting civilians. And look, it's the fog of war. We don't know exactly what, where it's coming from. I think that just the Occam's razor would probably deduce that this is probably an Iranian drone. I mean, you could get all convoluted and say maybe there was some drone that was like, you know, it maybe lost its way. Maybe they believed it was in Iran when it wasn't. Highly doubt it. Probably came from Iran. So anyway, let's have a look at this. There's the building on fire. I believe this building is 95 stories tall. And like they said, it's entirely residential. And of course, there's no audio. And I believe that just happened hours ago as of this recording. 6 hours ago was when they posted that. Again, 23 Marina Tower in Dubai. And open source intel breaking, Israeli officials say Khamenei, or is it Khamenei, his son, Motaba Khamenei, was wounded in a targeted strike. Supposedly he was wounded. At least that's according to Israeli officials. And from the Spectator Index, Israeli media reports that assessments are that Mojtaba Khamenei is wounded but alive after a recent strike. And we've got this. Massive explosions are rocking oil depots in Iran. So this is the big recent development from about 3 hours ago. Quite a bit of footage, different video angles of this event happening. I believe it's the Israelis that are striking these oil fields. At least that's what it appears to be. Urgent. Iran has been offline for a full week. Look, I didn't put any of this in order. I just grabbed everything as I came across it. So it's going to be a little bit of a chaotic episode. Usually I structure things a lot more, like from top to bottom. But yeah, there's just so much happening today. I just threw it all together. But we've got more oil field footage. But first, just real quick, let me get through this. More than 90 million people have been cut off from the global internet by the Islamic Republic during an active conflict. No communication with family, no access to emergency information, no ability to show the world what is happening. A nationwide internet blackout during war is not just censorship. It is a dangerous act that isolates civilians and hides abuses from the world. We urgently call on the global tech community, satellite providers, and internet freedom organizations to help restore connectivity. I mean, look, dude, good luck with that. Not when the regime is still in control of the country of Iran. I'm sure that they very much still are. Yeah, you can make the argument that maybe, the likes of Elon Musk could just shower the country with Starlink boxes and connectivity and all of that, which, yeah, there could be an argument to be made for that. I'm not so sure if the military would be allowing that for any flights to just drop tons of these things like down into the Iranian people. Reconnect Iran. The Iranian people must not be silenced. I couldn't agree more. It really sucks that they are experiencing an internet blackout. It has been a week at this point. And this is from NetBlocks. Update: a full week has now passed since Iran fell into digital darkness under a regime-imposed national internet blackout. The measure remains in place at hour 168, leaving the public isolated without vital updates and alerts while officials and state media retain access. So it was rolling right around 100%, and then it just instantly fell to practically zero, just flatlined, just a little barely bit of a connection here and there. Maybe a lot of that connectivity, maybe near the border of Iran, where they might be able to hook up to maybe a cell phone tower from outside the country. I'm just spitballing, just speculating, not even sure if that's what they're doing. I have heard, though, that people in Iran who are getting these videos out, apparently a lot of people are able to get the footage out by physically driving to the outskirts of the country and either handing off the footage to another individual or getting to a point where, just like I said, they can get connectivity to a nearby cell phone tower not in Iran, and they can upload the video to the internet from there. So maybe that's how this footage is getting out. They don't explain how it gets out, but this is the footage as of 4 hours ago from Bricks News. Just in, Shahran oil depot in Iran following U.S.-Israeli strikes. Here we go, 19 seconds. All right, that's one angle, not a very good angle. We've got others. Tehran tonight. I don't have the words anymore. Massive plume of smoke, probably from the same location, the oil fields. Breaking Prime Minister Netanyahu to the people of Iran. Here, let me go back. Let me get back to that. I want to actually play the rest of these through. That way I don't get too far off topic and jump completely all over the place. Israeli aircraft are reportedly striking about 30 large oil storage tanks, marking the first such attacks on state infrastructure since the start of the war. Channel 14. Not sure what Channel 14 means. Maybe it's something local. So, of course, the video, its quality is terrible. Yeah, there's no way to boost the quality. Looks like pretty much everybody still has power, though. Holy cow, man. Man, those flames are reaching way up. Hundreds of feet into the air. Yeah, I'm not sure if that's glare or not. I don't think it is. I think, like, it's actually, like, jumping up that high. It's got to be, like, what, 500-600 feet, maybe?
من دم پنجره بودم پنجره یهو شد سرخ شد گفتم بابا پالایشگاه تو نشدی.
All right, we got that one. Let's go to the next one. Just in, another one for Bricks News. Israeli strikes Iranian oil infrastructure. It's a pretty short one. Man, a massive fireball. Good grief, man. Big explosion. Large boom. Tehran's Shahran oil depot is completely consumed by a massive blaze after Israeli airstrikes hit the facility tonight. So there's the image. That's the most popular single image that's circulating around social media right now. I mean, it looks like the whole, whether it's the whole mountainside that's on fire, it actually looks like it's in the foreground and the mountainside's in the background. And let's move on to the next. The oil is flowing into the sewers and the streets are on fire in Tehran. Yeah, supposedly that's oil. Apparently that's oil that's rushing down the side of the street, and it's not good. Apocalyptic scenes from Tehran tonight. I've never seen something like this. Let's take a look at this. This is on the highway. Holy shit. Oh man, that is nasty. It's got to be the same thing. It's got to be that oil depot. Okay, I think that might be all that yeah, that looks like that's all I've got for that footage. So let me get back up here to where Netanyahu is. Dr. Eli David breaking: Prime Minister Netanyahu to the people of Iran. I'm not sure if he's going to be speaking in English. I assume he's not, so I'm just going to read the quote. "We don't want to break up Iran. We want to liberate Iran. Freedom from the yoke of tyranny depends on you. If you rise up, the day is not far off when Israel and Iran will once again be close friends."
אני מדבר איתכם ועבורכם כבר עשרות שנים. רגע האמת מתקרב, כי איננו מבקשים לחלק את איראן.
Okay, well, I don't speak Hebrew or what have you. All I can speak is English, so I'm just going to skip over. I'm going to trust that is what he said. I'm assuming that's what he said. All right. Tux Network, Israeli aircraft. Oh, yeah, that's right. I did all that. I'm so used to going in order from one to the next. All right, what do we got next? Okay, from RKM, just in: Iran, Israel, the U.S. conflict. Iran bought millions of fake military equipments, fighter jets, and air defense, tanks and fighter jets from China to trap American and Israeli Air Force. So I have a feeling it's probably just a propaganda film. You know how it goes. Appearing to inflate everything, so U.S. forces will drop millions of dollars worth of bombs on targets that are just simple inflatables. I somehow doubt that's exactly how it works with the United States and Israel. I mean, the technology we have is insane. I'm sure we can differentiate with our advanced systems what are inflatables and what's actual metal. Not to mention, with regard to infrared, heat signatures, inflatables aren't going to have any heat signature at all. But to be fair, if there's military equipment just sitting on a tarmac somewhere, and if it hadn't been operational in a while, it's probably not going to give off a heat signature either. But I'm sure that there is some way that our forces can tell from the air whether if it's an inflatable device or if it's an actual metallic device. But what do I know? All right, Barron Trump breaking: the Iranian regime is furious at the scale of the damage. Keeps getting worse. President Trump is not backing down. Iranian missile attacks have collapsed by about 90%. Drone attacks have dropped about 83%. Roughly 80% of Iran's air defense systems have been destroyed, and more than 60% of its ballistic missile launchers are already gone. The regime that spent decades threatening the world is now watching its military power get dismantled piece by piece. And this isn't the Barron Trump, it's just a commentary account, as it says right there on the screen. And we've got this short clip from Fox.
Ballistic missile launches destroyed as well. And let's not forget, we have effectively begun wiping out Iran's Navy.
Yeah, it'll be, if those numbers continue, if that's a trend, and they're
I'm pretty sure the Navy's already been wiped out. We've already taken out over 30 vessels.
Really look forward to potentially declaring victory, in very short order, which I think would be a victory for the president.
Yeah, without a doubt. And a victory for the world, because...
Well, declaring victory and actually having victory are two different things. I mean, what if we declare victory and then we leave, and then 2 weeks later, the Ayatollah is still in power, the Islamic Republic is still in power? That would be hardly a victory. All right, the Spectator Index breaking: a week has passed since Iran imposed internet shutdown, according to Monitor NetBlocks. Of course, we saw that already. It was just a different post talking about the same topic. Israeli Air Force struck 16 IRGC Quds Force aircraft used to transfer weapons to Hezbollah. The IAF conducted a wave of precise strikes in Tehran, targeting military infrastructure at Mahrabad Airport, a central hub used by the IRGC to arm and fund its terror proxies across the Middle East. Several Iranian fighter jets were also struck. Prior to the strikes, steps were taken to mitigate harm to civilians. And it'd be nice if they had a video to back that up, but they don't. They just have stock footage of fighter jets. So, okay. The Tennessee Holler, watch Tucker Carlson. And it's a quote to, let's see, who is this? Sargar and Jetty. Not familiar with him. He's the host of Breaking Points. And anyway, Tucker Carlson, he says, I flew to D.C. to try to talk Trump out of going to a war with Iran. Then I told him to take killing an 86-year-old cleric and call it a win. He's watching Fox and getting fake polls that tell him this is a 90-10 issue. There's an info vacuum. Look, if that's what Fox News is saying, that 90% of Americans support the conflict, I highly doubt that. Maybe 90% of people who are in the MAGA camp or the America First or what have you, the conservatives, the diehard Trump backers, maybe 90% might be coming from them. But overall, across the country, I somehow really doubt that it's 90%.
Flipped to D.C. 3 times in the last month to try to convince Trump not to do this. It didn't work. It happens. I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, boy, this is not going to get better. So then I think I'll fly up again and ask him. I mean, I don't know if anyone else is doing it, so I'm going to try. to just declare victory and go home. Like, you killed an 86-year-old cleric. Let's just call that a win and then pull back. And so
Well, that's
then
not going to accomplish anything. They're just going to replace him.
Convinced to denounce me. Okay.
That's only going to piss
I'm
Iran
gonna
off
fly
even
up
more.
anyway and see him, right?
He killed their
Even though
leader.
he's like denouncing me. So I call over there to see, call someone who knows him to see. I said, I'm just going to fly up anyway and tell him this because I think it's so important. And the person says, don't bother, because he's being shown polling that this war is like a 90-10 win for him.
Well, he's also got Lindsey Graham in his ear
I don't know where that polling is coming from. It's like, I guess you could make any kind of poll, and he's watching Fox News,
probably
which
the
is
MAGA
telling him the same thing, and he's getting fake polling. I guess they're only polling Sean Hannity's viewers or something. And so I'm not sure that there's a sense, as if this was yesterday, because I was getting so agitated and worried. I don't think that there's a sense that this is unpopular. Like, I think there's an information vacuum here.
There's a massive information vacuum.
Yeah, whether or not if it's 50-50, if it's 90-10, from what I've seen, it looks pretty well split along party lines. If you're on the left, you hate the conflict that's going on. If you're on the right, more than not, people are in support of it. It's really kind of hard to make heads or tails of it as of right now. If the whole conflict is over the next few weeks, if the entire the Iranian regime is completely wiped out 100%, the ones who are left over have completely given up, surrendered unconditionally. The people of Iran, they take to the streets in celebration. They storm the government buildings. They implement a new democracy for Iran. Okay, I think then we might have like a 90-10 win issue as far as that goes, because then that would wipe out the whole state sponsor of terrorism across the world situation. Plus, with the amount of oil that comes out of Iran, similar to Venezuela, I'm sure there would be some sort of deal that'd be set up to where the country is getting a large percentage. I would assume the lion's share of the profits of that, with the help of the West developing the oil. Even though if they don't, bomb the shit out of every oil depot and every oil refinery in Iran, then just simply continuing the manufacturing process of it wouldn't be as problematic as it is in Venezuela, because a lot of the Venezuela refineries, as far as I understand, were in a pretty dire straits because they've just been mismanaged, and the Maduro regime supposedly executed a lot of those engineers and specialists and experts with regard to oil and gas that were native to Venezuela years ago. All right, so let's move on. Class report. A classified U.S. intelligence report says even a large U.S. military assault on Iran would likely not topple the Iranian regime. The report also concludes that Iran's fragmented opposition is unlikely to take control, meaning U.S. plans to remove the regime and install a new leader would face major obstacles. Experts say Iran's ruling system is built to survive crises and resist outside pressure, and there is currently little sign of a mass uprising inside the country. And the source is Washington Post. So, forgive me for not really taking this very seriously. Intel report warns large-scale war unlikely to oust Iran's regime. And let me see. I know I mentioned something earlier. Washington Post, the same Washington Post, that lost 30% of their staff overnight for constantly spreading fake news propaganda. Not saying that this is 100% fake news about propaganda. I'm just saying I don't believe the Washington Post. I don't believe them at all. All right, let's see what else we got. Anyway, let's move on. Imtiaz Mahmoud says the world's largest warship just entered the Red Sea. This is not a drill. The USS Gerald R Ford, a 100,000-ton nuclear-powered supercarrier carrying 75-plus combat aircraft, just transited the Suez Canal and is now positioned in the Red Sea. Read that again. The biggest warship ever built by humanity is now parked at Iran's doorstep. Here's why this is terrifying. The U.S. now has carrier strike groups on both sides of the Middle East, Red Sea, and Persian Gulf. Yeah, that is indeed a fact that we now have 3 aircraft carriers in the vicinity. This isn't defense. This is full encirclement. 75-plus fighter jets, bombers, and electronic warfare aircraft ready to launch within minutes, and that's just from one carrier. And I think that 75 number is a low number. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that the largest aircraft carriers we have can hold well over 100 fighter jets. It's something like 110, 120. Maybe I'm wrong, though. Maybe he's right. The Ford strike group includes guided missile cruisers, destroyers, and submarines, an entire floating city of war. Combined with KC-135 tankers circling over Jordan 24/7, the U.S. has created a non-stop aerial war machine. The last time America moved this much firepower into one region was the invasion of Iraq in 2003. Iran is now surrounded from every direction, air, sea, and land. The noose is tightening by the hour, which, yes, is absolutely true. I think just the big thing that a lot of people are holding their breath on is whether if we're going to send U.S. troops or not, because that is definitely going to be something that most people are going to be against. That is not going to be a 90-10 issue, at least not in favor. It'd probably be a 90-10 issue against that move. Look, if Israel, if they want to send in their troops, sure, by all means. If we want to contract the Kurds up in Iraq, okay, maybe we can do that, even though I think most Americans would be against that as well, because that would involve lots and lots of money, tons of taxpayer dollars, probably in the billions and billions of dollars. So let's have a look at this. This is probably just stock footage. Making a sharp turn. That's freaking wild, man, that onboard nuclear power station could generate that kind of power. Floating airport. Well, like dude said, it's a freaking floating city. You know how many people are on there? Like 50,000 or 10, 20,000 people? I know it's a lot. There's a lot of people. And the nuclear power that generates the electricity, and I'm assuming that it's nuclear power that provides the propulsion energy to get the aircraft carrier moving. It has a lifetime of 35 years. That thing can be parked out at sea, just constantly just moving from place to place for 35 years because of its onboard nuclear power. Brian Allen, CNN confirms the U.S. military was likely responsible for the strike on an elementary school in southern Iran that killed scores of children. Well, that's, of course, CNN. The deadliest civilian casualty event of this war, not a military base, not a weapons depot, not a missile launcher, an elementary school. The White House posted bomb videos like highlight reels. Hegseth bragged about death and destruction from sky all day long. Trump did a victory lap. CENTCOM announced they are sinking the entire Iranian Navy, and behind closed doors, they confirmed to Congress that they targeted the area. Now CNN has confirmed it publicly. Well, you know, don't forgive me if I don't take CNN as the gospel truth on everything. Scores of children in elementary school. This is what Hegseth meant by the only ones that need to be worried are the Iranians that think they're going to live. He wasn't talking about soldiers, say their names. So anyway, that's according to CNN. There were already reports that up to 50% of the Iranian missiles that left the ground malfunctioned and either fell back to the ground and exploded, or they just fell back to the ground and didn't explode. There were also reports that the missiles had met their targets generally, even though the Iranian missiles are very imprecise. And once they land, they don't explode, or they misfire or what have you, supposedly up to 50%. And apparently one of those missiles that malfunctioned fell onto that school. Because there's really no, like, what reason would the United States have for directly targeting a school? I mean, if it doesn't make sense, even in times of war, if it doesn't make sense, I mean, just in my personal opinion, it's probably not true. And with our weaponry, we use satellite-guided, like, highly advanced weapons with our missiles, and I mean, they hit within inches of their target. I mean, this isn't something that would have been off by a mile. Of course, something coming out of the Iranian military, they would probably have firepower that might hit its target, or maybe it might be off for, you know, there's like a margin of error for like maybe a mile. So it'll be within a mile, close enough. But when it comes to the American firepower, it's going to be extremely precise. Same with Israel. I'm assuming that most of Israel's, if not virtually all of Israel's firepower, comes from the same place that we get ours from, the United States of America. So let's hear this.
Weeks since this war with Iran has been underway, the deadliest incident of civilian casualties was a strike that happened on an elementary school in southern Iran that killed scores of children. Tonight, a CNN analysis of that attack reveals evidence suggesting that the United States military was likely responsible for it. What you're about to see is disturbing.
Evidence suggesting it could be, possibly, maybe. I'm not hearing confirmed, absolutely, 100%. It's all this vague gray area.
And I want to warn you, the United States says it's still under investigation, but this was the scene at the school just after the strikes 1 week ago nearly. CNN has not independently confirmed the death toll, but Iranian health officials and state media believe that at least
Like
168 children and 14 teachers were killed. Our analysis, which is based on satellite imagery, geolocated videos, and the assessment of munitions experts, suggests that this school was hit around the same time that an attack that American forces had launched on a neighboring Iranian naval base. This new satellite image shows several Revolutionary Guard buildings near the all-girls school. You can see how close they are. In red, you can see the craters at the center of the structure.
Well, isn't that interesting how they position children's schools so close to these military barracks or the Revolutionary Guard buildings? Look, this is the first time that I'm seeing this footage. Having to assume that what they're saying is true. I'm not even convinced that this is even the school. It's probably just an extension of these Revolutionary Guard buildings, but what do I know? And also, frankly, what the hell does CNN know either? With regard to their sources, do they even have any sources? Who the hell knows? But if that's actually the case, and if that is indeed the location of the elementary school, 100%, no shadow of a doubt, then yeah, that is possible. Now, was it the Americans or was it the Israelis? That would, I'm assuming, be subject to that investigation. Could have been the Israeli forces. I would more likely believe it to be the Israelis than the Americans. I'm sure we would have like 100% confirmation that exactly what we're planning on hitting.
Including the school, and what experts say look like precision strikes. A wall marked by that
that's all the
dotted
United
line
States does,
there
man. Everything we do is
all that
precision.
separates the school and this base. When asked about the strike this week multiple times during multiple different press briefings, this is what Trump administration officials have told reporters.
This is the fog of war.
Did the United States
a lot of
airstrike
misdirection.
a girls' elementary school and kill 175 people?
Not that we know of, Sean, and the Department of War is investigating this matter, and I would just tell you very strongly, the United States of America does not target civilians, unlike the rogue Iranian regime that targets civilians.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, that's why they hide behind women and children. That's why Hamas, that's why that they set up shop in the basement of hospitals and schools, because they hide behind women and children like cowards, because that's what they've always done, because they take advantage of our hearts, and the fact that they know that we're going to be reluctant to fire at a place where there's women and children, and they take full advantage of that.
That kills children, that has killed thousands of their own people in the past several weeks, and uses propaganda.
Yeah, they did. They killed 35,000 Iranians over the last 2 months.
Many people in this room have fallen for that propaganda.
Can you give us an update on what the...
But look, frankly, if the United States did drop on accident a bomb that hit the school, do you really think that the U.S. militaries or even the U.S. government, anybody would come out and say, yes, it was us, our bad? No, they're just going to say, look, there are a lot of moving parts. We don't believe it was us. The end. And you're just never going to hear about it again. Maybe they'll declassify it like 80 years from now.
Administration knows what you know now about the reported strike on a girls' school in southern Iran on Saturday.
All I can say is that we're investigating that. We, of course, never target civilian targets, but we're taking a look and investigating that.
Yeah, well, CNN admit to that, though. Does the U.S. military target civilian buildings in a combat mission such as what we're engaged in here?
Now, the internet blackout in Iran has made it very difficult for our teams to examine weapons fragments that are left at the scene for further evidence of responsibility.
What, CNN is going to examine weapons fragments? Who the hell are you? You're not freaking experts. You're a freaking journalist,
reports,
man.
Though, that U.S. military investigators also believe it is likely U.S. forces were behind that strike.
Well, again, likely, maybe, possibly. It's just, there's nothing new. CNN has nothing new at all. All they're doing is just trying to keep the story alive, trying to make it so that people watching it will be against everything that's happening in Iran, because that's just the general direction of the far left. They want to be anything that's anti-Trump in any way, shape, or form, no matter what he does. I mean, even when he liberates Gaza, he frees Gaza, he got Hamas to surrender, although, to be fair, they haven't disarmed them completely yet, so that's still ongoing. However, everything seems to be moving quite in the right direction as far as that goes, but the left can't even give them that. I mean, they're still chanting free Palestine from the river to the sea and all that nonsense. All right, so we got another one from this Mahmoud fellow. Grandson of Iran's Ayatollah Khamenei Ali Ahmed Amini made it crystal clear last month on February 4th of 2026. The Israelis know damn well the day the Islamic Nation gets the chance will erase Israel just like Hamas tried. You won't see this on the mainstream media. Oh, well, you're going to see it here at least. What were the USA and Israel supposed to do with Iran being so defiant amid supposed negotiations? Operation Epic Fury was launched by U.S. Central Command on February 28th of 2026.
الإسرائيليون يعرفون بدقة ويعرفون أن الشعب الإسلامي إذا يأتي يوم وهو قادر على قصف إسرائيل وعلى ضربة على إسرائيل وعلى إذا كانوا قادرين على إزالة إسرائيل سيفعلون مع إسرائيل ما فعله حماس.
كل الشعوب الإسلامية.
كل الشعوب الإسلامية. اليوم إذا نرى أن بعض الدول المنطقة لا يعملون بواجبهم لعلهم يقولون وحتما يقولون نحن لسنا بقادرين على ذلك. وإسرائيل يعلم وأمريكا يعلم والقادة في الدول الكبرى يعلمون أن الدول الإسلامية إذا جاء يوم وهم قادرون على قصف إسرائيل سيقصفون.
يعني الدول الخليجية والعربية كاملة والإسلامية.
كل الشعوب الإسلامية. نحن لا نخاف.
Well, it doesn't appear to be the case today.
لأنه نحن صامدون. نحن ندافع عن حق وندافع عن بلدنا ونقول للأمريكان أنتم تموتون ولا ترون ذلتنا.
Well, that didn't age well. That didn't age well at all, now did it? Okay, daily Iran news breaking: the 25th wave of Operation True Promise 4 has begun with Qatar and Fatah missiles. Now, again, daily Iran news. Take it with a grain of salt. The reason I say take it with a grain of salt is because this could be AI. This could be like 15 years ago. There's really no way to know now, is there? All right, well, the audio cut in the video. I didn't do that. Okay, is there anything else they're going to show? Just another rocket taking off. Then we got this from the cradle. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps announces the launch of the 26th wave of Operation True Promise 4, describing it as a combined drone and missile operation carried out under the sacred code Ya Haider A Karar, in which Israeli targets from north to south were struck using new generation Imad, Gahar, and multiple warhead Kyber missiles. The IRGC stated that following the destruction of radar systems during previous waves of the operation, conducting these strikes has become significantly easier, adding that all missiles launched in this phase successfully hit their designated targets. This is going to be the same footage. No, actually it's not. Different. Well, and according to U.S. Central Command, every rocket that they're firing, any missile that's leaving the ground, our systems instantly detect it, and we send counter missiles to blow it out of the sky within minutes. Apparently, they've been doing that for days at this point, and that's why Iran has launched 90% fewer missiles as of like yesterday. It's probably even fewer today than they did on the first day, because it's reached the point where every single one that they launched gets blown out of the sky. At least that's according to our military. That's what our military is telling us. Iran's exiled crown prince declares transition leadership. Iran's exiled crown prince Reza Pahlavi says the Iranian people have asked him to lead the transition once the Islamic Republic falls, and he has accepted. In a powerful statement, Pahlavi said his goal is to ensure an orderly transition of power, stability inside Iran, the restoration of normal relations with the world, and ultimately free elections so Iranians can choose their future. He emphasized that Iran must avoid the chaos seen in the other regime change scenarios, saying the country will remain key bureaucrats and institutions to prevent state collapse. Pahlavi also sent a direct message to the region. He is calling on Arab governments and international partners to prepare to recognize the transitional Iranian government once the current regime falls. According to Pahlavi, the future Iran will not seek to export ideology or revolution, but instead aims to rebuild the economy, reintegrate into global markets, and become a stabilizing force in the Middle East. His message was clear. Standing with the Iranian people now, he said, is not charity. It is a strategic investment in a stable and prosperous Middle East. Well, I certainly hope he's right.
The Iranian people have called on me to lead the transition after the regime is gone. I have accepted that responsibility. Part of their great mandate to me is to return our nation and our foreign relations to normalcy. I will do exactly that. My commitment is to ensure the transition is orderly, the country is stabilized, and Iranians determine their future through the ballot box. We will not repeat the mistakes of past transitions. We will avoid de-Baathification scenarios and maintain as many bureaucrats and public servants in transition as possible. Iranians have made their choice at an enormous price. Now I ask our friends in the Arab world to join us, to prepare to recognize and engage our transitional government. We will rebuild our nation not for expansion, but to serve the Iranian people. We will base our diplomatic relations not on exportation of ideology, but on mutual respect and shared interest. We will reintegrate into the regional and global economy to increase prosperity for the citizens of all of our nations. Standing with the Iranian people is not charity. It is a strategic investment in making our region one of the most stable, secure, and prosperous in the world. Together, we can build a Middle East our children will be proud to inherit. Take this new path with us.
All right. Well, as far as I know, the Trump administration hasn't commented on whether or not if they're okay with the Shah, isn't that what they call him? The Shah, the king, or what have you? Crown Prince, the exiled Crown Prince, Pahlavi. Not sure if they're on board with that, if they're okay with that. I would say that if they do back that decision, that would probably be the best way to transition. It probably would be the most realistic way for like the entire country to transition towards something better, as opposed to just what they call regime change. All right, U.S. Homeland Security news. Update, U.S. has sunk over 43 Iranian naval ships, per Fox News, so they're up to 43. Last I heard, it was like 32 or 33, so apparently we're up to 43 at this point. And breaking, let's see, Islamabad Post, breaking Assam Munir has assured Khalid bin Salman that if Iran launches another attack on Saudi Arabia, Pakistan will target Iran. Whoa. All right. Holy cow. Jackson Hinkle knew Iran struck a vessel 10 nautical miles off the coast of Saudi Arabia. And that's it. I don't have any footage or anything, but 016-26 attack. Report date March 7th, 2026. Reported time is 12:10 UTC. And the issue date, same. Third party. UK MTO has received a third-party report of an incident 10 nautical miles north of Jubail, Saudi Arabia, and TTW. The report is being investigated. Vessels are advised to transit with caution and report any suspicious activity to UK MTO. Jeremy Lofredo. Trump spoke to CNN's Dana Bash on the phone and told her that liberating the Iranian people is not a goal of the war. Trump said he'd be happy to install a undemocratic religious leader so long as they treat the U.S. and Israel fairly. Now, that doesn't sound right. But let's see.
Chelsea Rodriguez, and he said she's doing a very good job. I said, well, would you be...
Okay, so we're not going to hear from Trump's mouth. So, again, taking this with a massive grain of salt. This is CNN at the end of the day.
Okay with a religious leader in Iran, and he said the answer is yes. It doesn't necessarily have to be a democratic leader in Iran. It just has to be somebody who treats the U.S. and Israel fairly, as well as people in the...
Okay, I mean, maybe he said that. It sounds kind of along the lines of something that Trump would say. See, it sounds like they're asking the wrong questions. What about the Crown Prince? Are you okay with him retaining or getting back in power, or his family, or the royalty, or whatever. I'd like to know what their comment might be on that. Iran military, in the event of any attack on Iran's economic oil and gas infrastructure, the desalinization plants of regional countries, and the Israeli regime will immediately be targeted by Iran's precision missiles. And Iran International English, Qatar has given members of Iran's embassy 1 week to leave the country. A source connected to the Iranian embassy in Doha told Iran International. Some people linked to the embassy had planned to stay in Qatar temporarily, but hotels in the country have refused to accept them following instructions from the Qatari government, one source added. Wow. So they're giving them the boot in Qatar, which gives Iran embassy staff 1 week to leave. Yikes. All right, Parody Jeff, breaking polls in the U.S. now magically show 90% of Americans backing President Trump's war on Iran. Is this a joke? Yeah, I don't believe that either. I definitely don't believe that.
Has exceeded expectations so far, and 90% of MAGA supports it. Look at that.
On an NBC poll. It said NBC poll. Okay, well, let's see if that is actually accurate or not. And you know what? Before I look at the results, I did just notice this. MAGA approves of Operation Epic Fury. So this whole 90% approve, of course, the way that they're wording it sounds misleading. That the MAGA faction, as I said earlier, they have probably 90% approval over the situation with Iran, because most of them, basically, whatever Trump does, they're in support of it. So moving over here to Grok, and it does have sources, but did an NBC poll actually show that 90% of people are in support of the Iran conflict? No, an NBC poll did not show 90% support the conflict. Let's see, February 27th to March 3rd, among 1,000 registered voters, actually found the opposite for the broader population. 52% said the U.S. should not have taken military action against Iran. 41% said it should have. 7% unsure on President Trump's handling of the situation. 54% disapprove. 41% approve, and 5% are unsure or no opinion. The 90% figure comes from a specific subgroup. 90% of self-identified MAGA-aligned Republicans supported the strikes, with only 5% opposing. That's a narrow slice of strong Trump supporters within the Republican base, not representative of the overall public. So let's see, 89% of Democrats said that the U.S. should have not struck Iran. That's of no surprise. 58% of independents agreed. 58%, okay, agreed with what? With the strikes? That would be surprising to me. Overall, a majority of voters disapprove of the military action and Trump's approach. Okay, so I'm assuming that would be agreed as in should not have struck Iran. Maybe that's how it actually read. Oh yeah, by the way, here, let me let's take a look. So 37 different web pages, NBC News, The Hill, YouTube, KHQ.com, not familiar with AA.com, KTVZ, let's see, what else they got? A lot of social media, KARE11, Reddit for some reason, NBC News. All right, so I think that's good enough. A couple more from NBC News, actually several, many from NBC News, in fact. Okay, so let's head on to the next. Oh, wait, hold on. Yeah, okay. Yeah, we're ready for the next. So Sung Hoon Lee, IQ 276. Trump has 3 options left on Iran. All of them are terrible. Day 8 of the Iran war, and the president is cornered. Here are his only moves. Option 1, declare victory and retreat. And, you know, I don't know if I'm going to read, like, literally everything that's itemized here. You can pause it and read it for yourself if you want. Option 2, boots on the ground. And option 3, nuclear weapons. I highly doubt that's going to happen. Here's what nobody wants to say out loud. The U.S. has the greatest Air Force in history. 8 days of bombing, and all they've achieved is political assassinations of leaders who were too arrogant to hide. Well, that's not necessarily true, because they knocked out virtually the entire Navy. They've also knocked out tons of missile sites, underground missile storage facilities. I guess the other nuclear research facility, if my memory serves correctly, they took that out. Yeah, so militarily, they've taken out drones and fighter jets and pretty much everything with regard to Iran's Air Force and Navy. So Iran's missile launches dropped from 350 on day 1 to 15 on day 8, but their drones keep coming. Their proxies keep firing. Hezbollah just captured an IDF soldier. Saudi oil fields are under attack. The old playbook doesn't work anymore. Drone warfare changed everything. China itself said, you were not prepared for this. Trump is stuck between retreat, quagmire, and Armageddon. There's no good option. Only bad, worse, and unthinkable. Prepare accordingly. Well, you know, that's just like your opinion, man. I don't think that they're back into that corner, at least not just yet. I guess it's possible that in the future it may wind up to that point. All right, Wall Street Mav, Iranian President Pezeshkian. There will be no more attacks on neighboring countries and no missile launches unless an attack originates from those countries against Iran. Translation, all of our missiles and drone crews are dead, so we will pretend we stopped voluntarily. All right, well, no subtitles. Holy cow, man, this is 6 minutes? Okay, well, there's no way that I can possibly understand anything that he's saying, but I'll repost this. There's a direct link to my profile down below in the description. You click on it, it'll take you straight here. Or you can go to @WallStreetMav. If you happen to find yourself on the X platform, you could search it. There's a little search button there if you want to have a look. Jay in Kiev says, Hegseth says Russia assisting Iran in targeting Americans is okay because Trump has a special relationship with Putin and that Biden is bad.
CBS News has 3 sources telling us that Russia is providing intelligence to Iran on U.S. positions and movements. The average American might hear that and think that's a big and dangerous deal, is it?
Well, we're tracking everything. Our commanders are aware of everything. We have the best intelligence in the world. We're aware of who's talking to who, why they're talking to him, how accurate that information might be, how we factor that into our battle plans, our CENTCOM commander. So we know what's going on, and the president has an incredible knack at knowing how to mitigate those risks. And so the American people can rest assured their commander-in-chief is well aware of who's talking to who, and anything that shouldn't be happening, whether it's in public or back-channeled, is being confronted and confronted strongly.
The American people can therefore expect conversations with the Russians to stop this?
Well, President Trump, as people have seen, has a unique relationship with a lot of world leaders where he can get things done that other presidents, certainly Joe Biden, never could have. And through direct conversations or indirect, through him one-to-one or through his cabinet, messages definitely can be delivered.
Okay. All right. Yeah, if you say so. However, with the internet not being up, they're not communicating through any means through the internet. I'm sure a lot of orders might be passed by paper, hand to hand, word of mouth. And that was one of the problems, if I'm not mistaken, with Afghanistan and a lot of other regions in the Middle East, is that they don't exactly use the top level latest technology that they could track. However, Israel, they hacked Iran's CCTV network years ago, according to them, and they've been able to peer through that entire system, just watch it. They didn't take it down or anything like that. They left it up. They just had access to it. So they were able to monitor everything going on in Iran for years, at least according to them. So I'm sure that we probably have that kind of access. Of course, the CIA, they don't just sit around and do nothing. I'm sure that they've probably got constant intelligence that's streaming in, and not to mention our other technological capabilities that they're communicating through satellite phone. I'm sure we have ways of piercing into that. And I don't know. All right, Mario Nawfall, for the first time ever, all 3 of America's long-range bombers, the B-2 Spirit, the B-1 Lancer, and the B-52 Stratofortress, are in combat at the same time. When the U.S. rolls out its entire bomber family tree, you know things are about to get biblical. U.S. bombers have already hit over 200 targets deep inside Iran, including in around Tehran. The B-2s are dropping 2,000-pound penetrators on underground missile bunkers, and they still have the 30,000-pound GBU-57 bunker busters on deck. And then there's also the Moab, the mother of all bombs, which we dropped in Afghanistan. I think Trump did that somewhere like in 2017, I think, which I think is the largest non-nuclear weapon that we have. So I'm not sure if we're dropping any of those or not. The same ones they used during Operation Midnight Hammer when they punched the holes through Iranian nuclear sites. The B-1s don't bother with stealth. They just show up fast and angry, carrying 75,000 pounds of ordnance or 24 cruise missiles at a time. They were the same platforms used to flatten Venezuelan air defenses before the U.S. grabbed Maduro. And then there's the B-52, still blowing things up like it's 1968. They can drop bombs, spot ships, and loiter forever. Now, put these 3 together, and you get an almost nonstop hammering of missile depots, launchers, silos, anything Iran needs to keep launching attacks. Yeah, I don't think that anybody's going to argue against the fact that the U.S. military combined with the Israeli Air Force, that we're pretty much unstoppable at this point. I mean, that was probably, well, not even probably. It was a certainty that's like, it was never going to be a fair fight, at least from the air and at sea. I mean, they're going to get absolutely decimated. The only thing that the only question is how resilient is the Islamic Republic, the government, the the whole regime that's in charge of Iran, how resilient are they really? I mean, how deeply embedded are they? How long would it take to just completely decimate them to the point where they have no choice but to surrender unconditionally? I don't know. But the Trump administration, they keep saying that this is nothing like Operation Iraqi Freedom, nothing like what we went through in Afghanistan, that we're fighting a completely different type of warfare scenario where we're not going to drag things on for years, that they expect this whole thing to be done. I believe the timeline was within 2 months. I think they were saying eight weeks at the maximum, if not sooner than that. So let's have a look at this.
For the first time ever, all three types of the U.S.'s long-range bombers are being used in combat simultaneously. That's the B-2 Spirit, the B-1 Lancer, and the B-52 Stratofortress. So far, the bombers have flown to the Middle East from their bases in the U.S., but they could soon be staged at British bases much closer to the battlefield.
The amount of firepower over Iran and over Tehran is about to surge dramatically.
For Epic Fury, the bombers are being used to take out missile depots and launchers, which officials say is a top priority.
In just the last 72 hours, America's bomber force has struck nearly 200 targets deep inside of Iran, including around Tehran.
The stealth B-2 Spirit bomber was
that
designed
was
to
over
evade
24
enemy
hours ago. I'm sure the
detection,
number's
which
much
explains
higher
its
now.
unique shape as well as its special coatings. In the early days of Epic Fury, B-2s dropped 2,000-pound penetrator bombs on underground missile facilities. B-2s can also carry the GBU-57, a 30,000-pound bunker buster bomb. These are the same bombs they dropped on Iranian nuclear facilities last June during Operation Midnight Hammer. B-1s are not designed for stealth, but they can fly at supersonic speeds and carry 75,000 pounds of bombs, more than any other U.S. bomber. Notably, they can carry 24 cruise missiles at a time, and they were recently used in Venezuela to take out air defenses during the U.S. operation to capture Nicolas Maduro. Finally, B-52s are the oldest of the bombers, and they are considered to be the workhorse of the fleet. Not only can they drop bombs, but they're also highly effective at maritime surveillance. These U.S. bombers are capable of reaching anywhere in the world from their bases in the U.S. But because Iran has fired at British personnel in Cyprus, the UK says it will let the U.S. use its bases for strikes on Iranian missile sites.
The only way to stop the
Of course they are.
Is to destroy the missiles at source.
From British bases, U.S. bombers will be able to fly shorter distances to Iran, which increases their flight tempo and ultimately
but it
allows
also
them to
increases
drop
the risk,
more
though.
bombs.
B-2s, B-52s,
I mean, save a little
B-1s,
bit of
Predator
money,
drones,
save gas.
fighters, controlling the skies, picking targets. Death and destruction from the sky, all day long.
Okay, well, that's what they say. And the footage that I keep coming across on social media is that they seem to be doing just that. There's a lot of apocalyptic scenes, or at least what appears to be, coming out of Iran. And we've got this one. Iran just dropped the glamour shots of its Qatar and Fatah missiles. Okay, we already saw that. We already saw that. I know we did. Yeah, see, we did. All right, we'll just move on to the next thing from RT. And I believe that stands for Russia Today, doesn't it? I think it does. I'm just going to go with that. Iran armed forces claimed 220 plus U.S. casualties in the past 24 hours. 21 killed and many wounded from U.S. Fifth Fleet. Around 200 killed or wounded at Al Dhafra Air Base. U.S.-owned oil tanker targeted in northern Persian Gulf. Of course, the U.S. military says that this is completely untrue. This is just essentially messaging to the people of Iran to show them that we're winning, and that just typically comes with warfare. You got the other side, even if they are indeed losing, and if the U.S. did not lose anywhere near that amount, they're just going to say that they did because it's going to try to keep morale high among the people of Iran who are pro-Iranian regime. And Iran Military Monitor, we already got that. I'm just going to skip over that. The Vigilant Fox, Bill Maher apologizes to his liberal audience as he delivers this take on the Iran war. This week, war, okay, are these all quotes? Yeah, these are all quotes, so I'll just play the video.
Also, this week, war. Did you hear about that thing? We bombed Iran, and it's going on. Now, have you expected me to say I hate it? I don't. Sorry. When he puts boots on the ground, yeah, then I'll hate it. Now, I know too many happy Iranian Americans. Sorry.
Look, man, I'm telling you, that's just going to be what most Americans are going to stand by. As far the boots on the ground part, I'm not talking about the whole thing, because it's clear, according to that poll, that most Americans, or at least just slightly over 50%, are not in favor of the conflict at all, at least not where it stands today. But yeah, once they put boots on the ground, it's going to be, in my opinion, and Bill Maher's opinion, it's going to be a very unfavorable situation for the Trump administration.
You cannot name one horrible thing that has happened in the Middle East in the last 50 years and not connect it to this fascist theocracy. They're like 6 degrees of they don't eat bacon. And it's popular. I mean, Iranians all over the world are doing the Trump dance. Have you seen that? The whole
we're doing that in
world
Iran.
is jerking off 2 guys at once now. It's amazing, yeah.
Yeah, see, that was apparently in Iran, the one on the left. Is that John Oliver?
Also, this week.
Okay, so apparently Bill Maher apologized for this opening statement, at least according to the Vigilant Fox. He apologizes to his liberal audience as he delivers that take. And I do have one more on Bill Maher. Let me see if I can find it. It's probably the same. No, actually, it does look different. While Bill Maher tells his leftist audience he supports President Trump's Iran strikes, then plays video of the Iranians doing the Trump dance. Okay, yeah, so we did see that. And how long is this? Yeah, okay. Just making sure. And from U.S. Central Command, it's never fair when B-52 is involved. This was never meant to be a fair fight, and it's not a fair fight. We are punching them while they're down, says Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. Operation Epic Fury from U.S. Central Command. They're the ones that are in charge of Operation Epic Fury, U.S. Central Command. So if you want to check the latest on the footage and updates as far as the Operation Epic Fury with regard to Iran, this would be the account to follow because they're updating pretty regularly. So this one from only an hour ago, the Iranian regime recently claimed through their unverified UN X account that it has only tried to target military sites and that its missiles and drones were thrown off course by the U.S. Jedi mind tricks. A lie. U.S. forces have stood shoulder to shoulder with regional partners to protect against the Iranian regime's deliberate, indiscriminate, and irresponsible targeting of civilian airports, hotels, and residential neighborhoods. Truth. And they got this one from 5 hours ago. The world's 2 greatest air forces continue to dominate the skies over Iran. And they're showing photos. Not sure, when they took these photos exactly, but I'm assuming it was probably sometime over the last week. And then it goes on and on. So they're updating this account multiple times a day. And again, U.S. Central Command, they are the ones in charge of the Operation Epic Fury in Iran. Okay. Let's see, Watcher.guru just in U.S. and Iran conflict. White House official says the U.S. will seize all the oil from Iran.
This is a long-term game because what we want to do is get such massive oil reserves in Iran out of the hands of terrorists. And so what we're going to experience here in the short term is highly outweighed of the long-term benefit because ultimately we're not going to have to worry about these issues in the Strait of Hormuz because we're going to get all of the oil out of the hands of terrorists.
Yeah, so of course the left, the Democrats, including a lot of the politicians, Gavin Newsom, all of them, they're reposting this exact clip and they're saying that, oh my God, the Trump regime is going to steal all of the oil from the Iranians because they already did that with Venezuela. So of course, the propaganda is just firing off on all cylinders, going into overdrive. All right. And another one from Mario Nawfal. The U.S. just activated a weapons system that existed only in Pentagon PowerPoints until now. The Sensor Shooter Network. Satellites spot a missile launcher and instantly beam coordinates to the nearest F-35, which fires without ever seeing the target. It's basically Call of Duty kill streaks, but real, global, and unstoppable. As Iran tries to move a launcher, U.S. satellites see it glowing like a matchstick from space, and then boom. An entire pillar of Iran's military power is evaporating in real time. And the source is Cappy Army. Not familiar with Cappy Army, but anyway, that's what they're saying. Iran's missile arsenal is getting wiped out. They opened with about 350 ballistic missiles on day 1, but by day 5, they were down to roughly 40. Drone launches were the same story, nearly 300 the first day, over 500 the second, and then collapsing to around 45 by day 5. Cruise missiles barely appeared at all, roughly 25 total across the week before the graph flatlined. With U.S. and Israeli strikes, smashing launchers, drone hubs, and underground storage, Iran is running out of toys, while the shelves are being blown up behind them. And Iran's missile and drone launches dropping fast. That's the graph that they're sharing. Looks like ballistic missiles in white and drone swarms in the green, like the light green, and total ballistic missiles and so on. Let's see. Qatar Airways just announced it will resume flights from London, Paris, Madrid, Rome, Frankfurt, and Bangkok to Doha tomorrow. It comes just after Emirates Airlines announced it will resume operations from and to Dubai International Airport despite a drone strike earlier in the day. Simply put, they're keeping track of how the big picture is changing instead of simply focusing on the raw data of when the last strike was carried out. I mean, that's kind of a... I don't know, man. I think that's kind of a big risk that they're taking. Hopefully nothing catastrophic ends up happening. Although Iran, supposedly they quote-unquote surrendered, but only to their Arab neighbors, to all the countries. I believe it was 12 in total that Iran had bombed over the last week, at least one. One such event. So... maybe that's why that they're resuming flights, because they had spoken to Iranian officials and they said that they're not going to be firing bombs into Qatar. So you're good to go. I don't know, man. I don't think that I'd be flying into Qatar right now. I mean, I'd be hella nervous. From Eric Doherty. Okay, yeah, we did that one for Bill Maher. Jackson Hinkle, breaking: Russia is providing Iran intelligence to target U.S. American warships and aircraft in the Middle East, officials say. Which we already got that from that news clip earlier. Breaking: Brigadier General Abbas al-Mohammadian, the commander of the Tehran police who gave orders to shoot and kill hundreds of protesters, was eliminated in airstrikes by the American and Israeli air forces. So he has been, at least according to them, he's been confirmed dead. But to be fair, I think that they did come out and say that he indeed was eliminated. And from James Woods, this is not related. I just noticed this from earlier today, so I figured I'd just throw it in here. This is the last thing I got. I'm done with the Republican Party. Between this and Thune's refusal to pass the SAVE Act, I'm done with these uniparty traitors. I'm changing my party affiliation to independent. No wonder President Trump is fighting an uphill battle every day. And from Wall Street Aids, while the Republican Party is protecting Ilhan Omar from accountability, Rep. Nancy Mace, I tried to subpoena her immigration records, her brother husband's immigration records, and it was Republicans that killed my motion. It's a uniparty, one big club. Yeah, I believe that.
Congresswoman, where do we stand on the
I'm not a Republican, and that's a major reason why.
Obviously, there's some
it's all the uniparty establishment.
Her citizenship. She's been referred to the ethics committee. Can we trust the ethics committee to actually be ethical and do the right thing?
Well, what's happened so far? Like, really, I think the remark is always let the process play out, right? That's what they always say, and nothing never happens.
Another way of saying
I tried
nothing.
to subpoena her immigration records, her brother husband's immigration records, and it was Republicans that killed my motion.
Yeah, and
Unreal.
What's going on with that? Do you have any more insight you can share on that?
As far as I know, nothing's going on, and nothing will go on. And that's Congress for you, because both sides protect the other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, even in the face of all this insanity that's going on, it's almost as if that the United States is in a form of controlled demolition right now, and like the Republicans are just protecting the Democrats. I don't think the Democrats are protecting Republicans at all. Maybe behind the scenes they might be working out deals or something like that. I don't know, man. Things just, I don't know, I'm pretty shaky ground. So I totally understand why James Woods left the Republican Party. I've never even been one. I've been a no-party affiliate for almost my entire adult life. All right. Well, anyway, that is all that I've got for this evening. So if you enjoyed tonight's video, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. And I might be back tomorrow night with another video. Maybe, maybe not. It just depends on how much stuff happens. And it might be Iran related. Maybe it won't be. Again, if there's a lot of crazy events that take place, a lot of drama or a lot of big news that happens, then I'll probably be back with another one tomorrow. And I post daily on X, which is where you can peek at the content for the next episode. And don't forget video clips from tonight, probably just maybe one or two. I don't think I'm going to split this up in a whole bunch of different clips. I might just parse it out into like 2 or 3 shorter clips, so that way you don't have to watch the video in its entirety, or if you want to watch the highlights from it, it'll begin dropping on the channel tomorrow. And thank you very much for watching. Always remember to stay positive. God bless the troops, and God bless America.